My bestie Brianna has been obsessed with this lately, disco cherries. And I thought it would be a really fun thing to paint, but also kind of tedious. So I did the digital sketch. Well, I guess it's not really a sketch. I did the digital version to make sure it's something I could figure out how to do. And then I was like, okay, let's go. Let's paint. So here I toned the canvas with a washed down yellow. And I wanted to do that because whenever I add on the blue in the end, it's going to make the blue more of like a blue green, like with different variations of blues and greens. It's so pretty. I can't wait for you to see. But circles are hard, so definitely had to have assistance there. The paints I use through this video, you're going to see a lot of Holbein gouache, the acrylic gouache, and some apple barrel here and there, I think, just because I have a ton of it, as you can see over in the right corner. Um, and I have a lot of colors. So instead of mixing my paints and using large amounts of, like, especially for the background, I just decided to use the apple barrel. I do tend to be a little too precious with my art supplies, especially things that are a little more on the pricey end. So definitely got to work on that. This was a really long process. A lot of redoing things that I'd already done. So I needed to go in first with my grid so I could make sure everything was in line. And I struggled because at first I wanted to make like large squares, but then I was like, oh, but how good would that look if they were smaller? So that was a constant struggle trying to fight to get the grids to be the right size. In the end, I think I got there. Next comes the tedious part. It's just a lot of dabbing in different colors of red, shades of red, tones, um, and just kind of mixing them on the fly. I didn't really have a lot of rhyme or reason for the placement of colors, which I know I probably should have, but I just kind of tried to focus more lighter with the light and then just kind of have it disperse a little through. The same with the very dark tones that you'll see later. My cat Seal always has to be in my lap, and sometimes it can be a problem when I'm trying to paint or do something, and I feel so bad because I don't want to put her down. But also, my desk is a mess. There's no two ways about it. It's a disaster. I have a lot of plants I need to figure out what to do with, and I just don't have anywhere else to put them, so they hang out with me on my desk. It was looking a little iffy. I was contemplating my entire existence over how this painting began, but when they say trust the process, you just have to trust the process. I got a little lost again, so I put the grids back in, which I wanted them to be more pronounced and like a lighter color anyway. So it was going to end up being close to that color, if not that color in the end. I would place one color and then be like, no, wait, hold on. I don't like that here. This needs to be different. So then I would go back over it with either a lighter or darker version. And that's the part that took the longest. If I just kind of had a plan and went in knowing what I was doing, it would have been a little smoother. But I had no plan. I had no idea what I was going to do. I just kind of jumped in head first on this one. If you want to recreate this or do any sort of like disco ball variations, I would say this method would be fine. Just kind of throwing colors wherever because I think it looks good in the end. There's no real rhyme or reason. But if you wanted to be more realistic with it, you could definitely look up a reference and study how the light reflects because depending on where something is in the room, it's going to have different colors, different places. I hope that makes sense. So, like, you could get a more realistic depiction of a disco ball in a room, but I was just going for more of a loose, kind of illustrative approach. I feel like it might have been a little bit helpful to do both at the same time, but I kind of neglected the second one, the one that I'm working on now, until the end. I guess I just wanted to make sure I could actually do it on the first one, but it ended up working out. I was a little concerned about how to do the stem and the leaf. I didn't know if I wanted to go like really illustrative with it or if I wanted to do like kind of realistic. But I ended up going with a more simplified, like, I don't know how I feel about the term, but like a painterly look. I really could have used a bigger brush here. And I probably should have watered the paint down a little more, but I'm still trying to figure out the sweet spot of water to gouache ratio because you can just use it straight up or you can use it really, really watered down like it would be watercolor. Um, but to get the look that I like gouache for, like I'm still struggling. But sometimes I just get lucky and I end up with the right consistency. Here I'm going back and just adding like some blotches of the green so that way it doesn't look so blended and so planned. I also didn't let the leaf dry so that whenever I added the veins, it would kind of blend out a little, but not a ton. I wanted that smooth look for it because I didn't want anything to be like super crisp. I absolutely struggled with this blue. It's an older apple barrel bottle that I have. Um, it was a little chunky. There were a lot of bits and pieces. So you'll see periodically, like I'll stop and I'll have to go back and pick up some of the blobs here and there. But you can kind of see right now what I'm talking about with like some areas are more blue, some areas are more green, some are a really nice fusion of the two. And that's what I've been enjoying about doing underpaintings. I used to hardly ever do them. I would just gesso something, which granted, I probably should have gessoed this. The canvas really soaked up a lot of the paint and it was a little difficult to work with sometimes, especially putting down this background. But again, there I am fighting the blobby paint. But I'm having a lot of fun experimenting with different color tones for the canvas because you can add like a little hint of warmth or you can have it be cool. Just depends on the overall vibe of the piece that you're going for. I decided to leave the underpainting showing around it because that's more like just letting that yellow shine through and it's bringing a pop of color. Really struggling with those globs in the paint. I definitely recommend, like, if that's happening, maybe replace the paint. I don't want to be wasteful, so that's why I'm struggling through, but whew, it's difficult. I wanted a little bit more variation, but also I could still see the pencil marks from when I was making the circles. And my thought process was if I put a little white on this, it'll be easier to cover. And then I could put the blue back on top of it. But I ended up really liking how it looked with the lighter areas just right at the cherry. So I definitely went with that. And here I just made a really watered down version of the mist red from the cherries. And I just went over where the two meet and on the sides where I feel like there would be a shadow. This helped a lot with the dimension and it just made it pop. Do this as our finished painting. I really like it. I had so much fun. I struggled. I'm not gonna lie. Like I struggled, but it was well worth the struggle. I learned a lot. I had a ton of fun, which I feel like is the most important thing. Just remember to have fun with whatever you do. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this piece. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Make sure to click that bell so you'll always get notifications and you'll be able to see whenever I upload. But I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.